It doesn't matter when, where, or the language.
Being alive is a useless phase.
Life can bring us despair. That's because, once you're alive, you only have one guarantee. One day, you will die. And it's around this idea that in 1957, the filmmaker Ingmar Bergman brought The Seventh Seal to theaters, a Swedish film that proves the absurdity of life, highlighting its chaotic nature and the impossibility of fully understanding it. A reality that makes us dive into an eternal search for answers.
I want to win and not believe what he's saying.
If you had the opportunity to meet a god or some transcendental being, depending on what you believe, what would you ask? I'm giving you this context because that's exactly the situation in the movie. The protagonist, Antonius Block, is a knight who has just returned from the Crusades in the Middle Ages. While resting on the beach, he is visited by death in a scene that, a few years later, would become one of the most iconic in the history of cinema.
Do you come? I am death. Are you coming to take me? I have already walked by your side for a long time, I know that. Are you ready? My body is ready. Not myself.
Antonius claims that he is not ready because he has several unanswered theological questions. And, for that reason, he resists the call of death, challenging it to a game of chess. If he wins, he gets more time in return, and death accepts the challenge. Much. As long as Antonius doesn't lose, he stays alive. The contact with death and the feeling that his time is running out makes Antonius use the opportunity to try to achieve something he hasn't managed to do throughout his entire existence. An answer to the big questions of life. What is the meaning of all this? Is there a God? What happens after this life?
No one can live carrying death and knowing everything exists as nothing.
The horror experienced by the protagonist can be understood by what the philosopher Albert Camus called the absurd. Because while we are rational beings with a strong desire to create order, clarity, and give meaning to life, we are part of an irrational and indifferent universe. And therefore, the universe's response to the human cry for meaning is silence.
Got an idea?
It's silence.
I want God to bless me with his hand, reveal his face, and speak to me.
And this is the absurdity. It's the fact that we keep trying to extract something from this universe, to understand the enigma, to bring meaning to its ways.
Maybe it is not good enough. I want certainty or nothing.
I want to know. I want to know.
Bergman's film isn't concerned with bringing answers, but with the conflict. By stating that God is silent, for example, he leaves room for both his existence and non-existence. It's inconclusive, just like life. If we analyze the chess in the story, it's not there by chance. It symbolizes the conflict between reason and the complexity of life. The fact that we try to control our destiny in a world where there seems to be little control, or trying to give meaning to our lives in a world of chaos and randomness. Character. A game of chess requires strategy, a lot of thinking, and therefore, Antonio's moves in the game. They represent the choices we make in a complex universe, choices that bring us consequences. On the other side, death is relentless. Showing us that no matter what you do, it is inevitable for everyone. And that's why all this mystery and existential questioning will one day come to an end. The end. But not because you found an answer, but because your time to go has come. The movie makes us think that maybe, before all these unanswered questions, there is a bigger question that comes before all the others. Is there in fact an answer?
I don't think I have the intelligence or the DNA makeup to answer the question.
The most reasonable thing to assume is that certain things are beyond our abilities. Human consciousness has its limits, and because of that, a large part of existence cannot be rationally explained. Reason can only take us so far, and it's precisely in that gap that faith comes in. As the philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, faith begins exactly where thoughts stop. And don't think that my intention with this is to belittle faith. The very author of this phrase, Kierkegaard, was a man of faith, someone who chose to embrace Christianity as a response to absurdism, to the absurdity of life. it's a leap of faith. He argued that we should give faith a chance and embrace this greater purpose as the ultimate meaning of life, even if there is no solid proof of its truth. However, the mistake that many make when choosing the path of faith, especially religious faith, is to look at doubts and uncertainties with disapproval, denying them at every moment, believing that faith and uncertainty cannot coexist. In my view, this behavior only limits your thinking. Accepting a belief as absolute, taking it as the answer to all of life's questions, only destroys our capacity for critical thinking.
Isn't the basics of faith not to have doubts at all?
I see doubt as something that connects us to life, something essential to everyone, regardless of what their belief is. Doubt stimulates reflection and questioning, and that deepens your faith, leading you to more mature understandings.
Intelligent human beings will have doubts about doubt. They live with humility. If you have certainty, you're dead. Certainty destroys people. Hitler destroyed 40 million people because he was certain. Stalin destroyed millions with a zombie-like certainty because he knew nothing.
Certainty,
besides being limiting, is a tool for manipulators. They exploit this human desperation for meaning, creating answers to satisfy any philosophical and existential question. And once you no longer have critical thinking, you are completely dominated.
If you want to learn something about it, shut your mouth and listen to me for a minute.
they put the little they have inside these wicker baskets.
There will be 50 people give $1,000 and do it right now, or I am finished.
This is the power of God. This is the power of God.
This is the power. He absorbs the terror with his narrative. Thanks to that, he is successful in the amount of certainty he projects. Some linguistic anthropology scholars think that religion is a language virus. It seems to rewrite pathways in the brain. It blocks critical thinking.
Of course, there are different religious approaches and different ways to bring religion into our lives, but I consider it fundamental to realize that doubt is vital. I always like to think that whenever something prevents you from questioning, there's something wrong. Because if there wasn't, what would be the problem with simply questioning?
How many of you like gold and golden things? Those of you who don't like it are in the wrong church.
The most important scene for me in The Two Popes is one particular moment, precisely because it tries to break the idea that religious faith needs to be sustained by certainty, by showing that doubt is present even for the world leader of the Catholic Church.
You know, the hardest thing is to listen, to hear his voice, God's voice, sorry, even for a pope, and perhaps especially for a pope.
Unlike Antonio Bloch, notice the calmness with which he makes this revelation.
I was close to what he wanted from me, what God wanted, what purpose he had for me. But now, I don't know myself.
This scene illustrates very well that no matter what your faith or your truth is, the absurdity of life is a reality common to everyone. And it also doesn't matter how experienced or how wise we are. Some answers are simply beyond our reach. The only thing left to us, and within our control, is to improve the way we deal with this mystery. And I make Camus's words my own when he said, "I don't know if this world has a meaning that transcends it, but I know that I don't know that meaning, and that it's impossible for me, at this moment, to know it. What a meaning outside of my condition could mean to me, I can only understand in human terms." This thought is very interesting, especially when you stop to think that wherever man has been, throughout history, he has tried to find ways to translate this universe into human terms, whether through symbols, languages, symbols, calculation systems that on one hand allow our communication, our understanding, and even for me to be here making this message reach you. But at the same time that they have brought us many benefits, these systems are too simple to deal with the complexity of the world. After all, we have an unlimited mind trying to decipher an unlimited universe with infinite possibilities. So the most we can offer is a representation. Alan Watts has an example that illustrates this well. He says that a triangle is much simpler and more orderly than a mountain, but even so, a mountain can be represented by a triangle. In other words, we are limited to being able to represent and understand the universe exclusively in our own terms. And here, once again, comes the big mistake that I've been talking about throughout this whole video. Because these simple and raw translations that we are able to make of the universe are the ones that end up giving rise to the various lines of thought that we adopt with such certainty, lines of thought that shape the world we live in. It's a reflection of centuries of mankind tirelessly trying to find meaning for our existence, and as a legacy, we are already born with many ready-made answers for this life. But when you start to look at things from the perspective of the absurd, you realize that these existential certainties we hear and end up assuming only distance us from reality.
A story we agreed to tell each other over and over until we forget that it's a lie. But what do we have left once we abandon the lie? Chaos, a gaping pit waiting to swallow us all. Chaos isn't a pit, chaos is a ladder.
The aversion to chaos makes us seek order at any cost. But what if we simply accepted chaos, the absurd, the lack of meaning in all of this? If we abandoned all illusions of meaning to thus unveil a new reality of infinite possibilities? I understand that this can be frightening, but instead of despairing, you can choose to see the bright side of the situation. Because once there is no meaning to this life, you are free to focus on it completely. What am I doing?
I'm alive. Free yourself.
The repetitive lives of socially accepted paths that we submit to make us dive into such a small piece of what life is that we end up forgetting about everything else. I have a strong feeling that every time you deny the absurdity of life, your world gets smaller. And the smaller your world becomes, the greater your fear and despair will be when you come face to face with its nature. And don't get me wrong, the purpose of this video isn't to tell you that there's a right way to live life. I just wanted to show you that in an uncertain world, certainty can blind you.
And what if the worst is true? What if there's no God and you only go around once and that's it? Well, don't you want to be part of the experience? What the hell? It's not all a drag. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, I should stop ruining my life, searching for answers I'm never going to get, and just enjoy it while it lasts. And, after, who knows? Maybe there is something nobody really knows. I know maybe is a very slim reed to hang your whole life on, but that's the best we have.